Welcome back, everybody, to Chris and Harry Unplugged. This is episode 5. Feels like we haven't been doing this for that long. I don't know. It's weird, right? It's weird. I'm Harry. That's Chris. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I wanted to start off today's episode with two little fun things, a fun fact and a fun fact about us. The first fun fact, and Chris doesn't know I'm saying this, is I was checking our analytics for our podcast, and the podcast has now been listened to in 49 out of 50 states.
Wow, really?
49 out of 50, including DC. As DC
no
state,
shit, that's dope. Wait, yeah, do you know what the one state is?
It's Alaska.
It's Alaska. I knew it.
It's Alaska. There's a lot of there's a lot of listeners who haven't put their location. When you listen on Spotify or Apple, they ask for it. There's some people who didn't. So we actually don't know. There might be someone in Alaska. Dude, but I thought that's cool.
That's actually so cool. Holy shit.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That actually, it feels. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you. And the crazy thing is, we've had listeners in Africa, the Middle East, South America, Europe, Australia. There's a bunch in Australia. Canada, of course. Shout out to our people up north.
That's dope.
So thank you guys so much for listening from all over the world. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And the second thing I wanted to start off today's episode before we dive into the topic, I should say, is I saw a comment on a YouTube video recently, and they were like, "We love that you talk about the news and love that you guys tackle the stories, but we don't know anything about you guys. We know nothing." So I thought that Chris and I should say a fun fact about ourselves today, right now, buddy. Get to it. I can go first if you want.
You know what? I'll go first. Well, first of all,
go for it.
It's actually because I know we briefly discussed that comment. It feels really hard. We're trying to kind of find our identities and be people as well as talk about the news. So we're definitely trying. I replied to that comment. I was like, "Yo, I appreciate you saying this. We're absolutely gonna try to show you guys not only the news but who we are as people." And I think we're going to make a little introduction video that might be pinned to the top of the YouTube and the Spotify. It'd be shorter, obviously 20 minutes, but just talking about us, just so you guys get an idea of who we are. But a fun fact, okay. I think my only fun fact is aside from politics and the normal, I'm 21, so I play video games, I socialize, whatever. But I'm kind of low key a nerd in a lot of ways. I build computers, I love technology, I always want the newest phone. I rip apart gadgets and stuff. I don't really talk about it much. I kind of just do it on my own. It's a hobby for me. But that's kind of my fun fact is that I'm nerdy in that way.
Hey, that's pretty cool, man. That's a fun fact.
All right, now you go.
That's a fun fact. Now my fun fact is that I've lived in 3 different continents. How about that? 3 different continents.
That's crazy. So you were born in Singapore.
I was born in Singapore, which is probably a lot of people probably don't know that. I was born in Singapore. I lived there for less than a year. Then I moved to Dubai, all because of parents' work. I was 1. I don't remember any of this. Right. But I lived in Dubai for 5 years, then lived in Dublin, Ireland, where I pretty much grew up, and then I moved to the United States for high school. So I've lived in Asia, Europe, and North America.
That's actually crazy. I didn't even know you lived in Dubai, or maybe I did, but I forgot.
Yeah, I was super young.
Do you remember it?
No, nothing at all.
Wow, that's crazy.
Nothing at all.
I've heard crazy things about Dubai.
It's an interesting place. I don't know anything about it. I don't remember it, but... it's still an American citizen at birth, though. But anyway, that's I just wanted to start off the episode a little bit different this week.
I like it. No, I like it.
But I think we're gonna jump right into the major topic for the week. So go ahead, Chris.
Hypothetically, when you're listening to this, Monday at 1, or maybe it's Tuesday, Trump has been indicted in Georgia, or maybe he's been indicted by Jack Smith. Personally, I'm in Fulton County myself. Or at least, I'm in Kennesaw State, but don't worry about it. I am near, or I live in Fulton County. So I drove down the courthouse the other day, and he's looking at possibly two separate indictments this week.
Two separate indictments, and 2 different places, 2 separate indictments.
Right.
Weird.
I think this episode we kind of just want to do we're trying to figure out, you guys can help us with this as well. We're trying to kind of figure out our structure on the podcast. And we've been really struggling to kind of figure out what the best way to do this is, what's most enjoyable for you guys, what's most enjoyable for us. So I think this episode we're going to try for, just a Trump episode. We're going to kind of do a more opinionated, we'll give you the information about the upcoming Trump indictments and then what we think the repercussions of that will be in 2024, how, as young people, we feel about it, etc. And we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, and this is certainly a good week to have this episode. We didn't this is not planned or anything, but when we were talking about what segments to tackle and what news to talk about, we were just there's so much Trump news to talk about right now that it's going to be hard to break it up in different stories. It would just be better if we just talked about it all at once, and that those were the major stories this week. So
right.
let's just dive right in as to what's going on with Trump. So earlier in the week, this was crazy. I mean, what a weird day this was. Earlier this week, we got notice and a notification from the news and everybody that Trump's lawyers were meeting with prosecutors at the Department of Justice. And this was something that's kind of referred to as a final meeting, because obviously the January 6th investigation is coming to a close. Trump got a target letter about it. Different people are being likely going to be charged at least. And so it's kind of coming to a close, and a final meeting happens before an indictment comes. So it happened with the document case. Trump's lawyers met with prosecutors, and in this meeting, they try to convince the prosecutors not to indict their client. But obviously it didn't work in the document case. It's not going to work in January 6th. So they had this final meeting, and the lawyers for Trump were told by the DOJ that, hey, and this is all according to the news, that your guy is about to be indicted for January 6th. And we talked about the potential charges in the last episode. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. And this was on Thursday, I believe. And everybody thought that, wow, Trump might be getting indicted for January 6th today. But no, Jack Smith and the Department of Justice threw us for a curveball. So not only is he about to get indicted for January 6th, but new charges for Donald Trump dropped in a document case.
Right.
Crazy.
Right.
Just crazy.
Yeah. And supposedly also according to right around that as well, when we got the new charges, and I'll let you talk about the third person in that as well. But I guess Jack Smith and Fani Willis are now talking to each other, trying to coordinate, who's going first. So
who goes first, right?
Who goes first? Right?
Yeah, we're in wild times in American history right now. So we got this notification that a new indictment has been filed in the classified document case. A new person has been added, a third defendant. His name is Carlos de Oliveira. This is a new third defendant. He was an employee at Mar-a-Lago. And he is facing similar charges, sort of, to Donald Trump and Walt Nauta, but a little bit different. He faces charges such as trying to obstruct justice, which I'll talk about in a second, concealing records and documents, and making false statements to the FBI. So these are pretty serious crimes. But I'm actually going to read for the indictment right now as to how this guy plays into it and how Donald Trump's involved as well. Oh, man. So Section 84 of the new indictment says, at 9:49 a.m., Trump employee 4 and De Oliveira left the area of the IT office together and walked through a basement tunnel. De Oliveira took Trump employee 4 to a small room known as an audio closet near the white and gold ballroom. Once inside the audio closet, De Oliveira and the Trump employee had the following exchange. De Oliveira told Trump employee 4 that their conversation should remain between the two of them. So already off the bat,
he said, "We're off to a good start. This is good. Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah, right. That's great for that guy. Yeah, jeez.
So I mean, seriously, bro. Seriously, already off the bat. Yeah. Then it says in Section B of 84, it says De Oliveira asked Trump employee 4 how many days the server retained footage. This is the security footage that was automatically uploaded to the servers at Mar-a-Lago that kind of stores them. So the Trump employee 4, who is believed to be an IT guy, responded that he believed it was approximately 45 days. So, yeah, dude, this is just too funny. I mean, this is crazy.
I know.
I mean, anyway,
this literally blows Watergate out of the water. This isn't even close. This is so much worse than Watergate. Continue.
It's so much worse. Anyway. And then Section C is De Oliveira, and this is where it gets bad. De Oliveira told Trump employee 4 that, quote, the boss wanted the server deleted. Trump employee 4 responded that he would not know how to do that and that he did not believe that he would have the rights to do that. So there's obviously some knowledge of criminality going on here.
Right.
And keep in mind that all the footage we're talking about had already been subpoenaed. So this is destroying subpoena.
Yeah, no,
dude, it's crazy.
This is right.
This is good. No, this is a good guy. Trump employee 4 told De Oliveira that De Oliveira would have to reach out to another employee who was a supervisor of security for Trump's business organization. De Oliveira then insisted to Trump employee 4 that, quote, the boss wanted the server deleted and asked, quote, "What are we going to do?"
So how did Jack Smith? Was that all that was all from Trump Employee 4? He must have told the FBI that.
Yeah. It must have been Trump Employee 4.
It had to be Trump. Yeah, whoever Trump Employee.
Probably why they're unnamed. Yeah.
Right, dude, that's wild. So,
yeah, the boss.
Right,
the boss.
I wonder who the boss. Who's the boss?
Yeah, I wonder who the boss is that could want that footage deleted. And actually, interestingly enough, Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira both walked through a tunnel at Mar-a-Lago and pointed out the different security cameras and all over Mar-a-Lago days before they had those conversations. They were obviously scoping it out to have stuff deleted.
Right. So then, so the new charges surrounding that conversation.
Yes. So the new charges surrounding that conversation, as I mentioned, De Oliveira is being charged with, obstruction of justice, concealing records and documents, making false statements to the FBI because he lied about this interaction and he lied about seeing documents being moved. But they actually managed to get the footage that they tried to delete. Apparently, that's what people believe. But the way that conversation plays into Donald Trump is obstruction of justice, right? He and De Oliveira. So Donald Trump faces 3 new charges. 3 new charges were filed against him. 2 new counts for obstruction of justice in relation to that conversation, and then 1 new count for the willful retention of national defense information, which pertains to the document where he discussed Iran. You remember that audio thing? Yep. Yeah. So those are new charges against Trump, and that,
right, wild. And I mean, this guy, along with that, Georgia, South Florida, and New York.
New York.
He's literally staring down the barrel of God knows how many years in prison. He's going to be staring down that. Like, I know this is what's crazy about this. For so long, and I think you were in this boat, that we all were like, we were all very excited because it was becoming clear that Donald Trump had committed multiple crimes. But the idea was like, he'll never really see the inside of a cell. He's going to show up to court. He's going to have problems, but he's not going to see the inside of a cell. But ever since the last few months, I guess not New York, but man, I'm like losing track of like this guy. I mean, it's wild.
Right.
But ever since South Florida, people are actually under the impression that this guy may see the behind a cell. I mean, this is like no joke stuff now. This is not like, I know people say like the rich in America get away with everything, but like this is not one of those things that you just get away with. Like the multiple obstruction of justice and I mean all these. He's staring down the barrel of like 300 years in prison. Yeah. And will he actually see 300 years? Obviously not. But that begs the question, will he see a year? Will he see 6 months? Will he see 5 years? It's just, I don't know, man.
It's crazy. And I saw this wild stat the other day, which is that right now, in only the 2 cases so far, and there still could be more charges in the document case, but might I add, but right now, Donald Trump has 74 felony counts against him. 74.
I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, that.
Yeah. And look, I think this is how, and so like this gets into kind of how this plays out in 2024. And I think it's really hard, right? And I tweeted this. We'll start with this. And I'm curious on your opinion about this.
Sure.
This is going to strengthen his base. Like, let's just start there. Like, once he gets, I mean, it already has. New York has. South Miami has. And Georgia and this documents case will continue to do that. His base will gain strength. And even I think he will gain strength amongst, and this is going to, I think you and I may disagree a little bit about this. I think there's enough people in America who are really tired of the U.S. government. They feel like the U.S. government doesn't work for them, etc. And I think if Trump can push the narrative that they're coming after him, and people see it as a quote-unquote witch hunt, I think there's at least a section, I don't know how big, of moderate voters who would swing toward Trump just because of these indictments. Now, how many more voters actually end up, how many more undecided voters swing against him because of it? I don't know, but I think there's a section that does, and I think it strengthens his base regardless. And I tweeted that, and I said, it doesn't matter. That's not why, no one cares. No one cares. Like, at the end of the day, no one cares. If he's committing crimes, he needs to be held accountable, no matter if it strengthens his base or not. The question is, where does this leave him for 2024? Because his base will be ignited. I don't know that he can even run. I don't know that, we're in really uncharted territory here. The DOJ might sit him down and be like, here's your plea deal. You're not running. Is that constitutional? There's a debate about that. I don't know. Now, even if the DOJ doesn't say that, which I find it hard to believe they won't at least try, I don't see how he can be in 4 places out on bail at once. I just don't. I mean, we're really in uncharted territory here. Like, that's what's crazy is people ask me all the time. Like, they're like, I'm like, if this guy gets elected in 2024 and he's facing all these charges, the day he gets inaugurated, we're going to be seeing a constitutional crisis that this country has never seen before. And people ask me questions, well, what do you think is going to happen? I'm like, no one fucking knows. I mean, this is wild. We've never been in this position.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows what the protocol here is. I don't know. Can Trump the day it's January, Trump, gets inaugurated. Can he just be like, yeah, I'm pardoning myself. He tells his DOJ in 2024, like, yeah, drop the charges against me.
Yeah.
People are like, well, what do we do then? No one fucking knows. That's what's wild. No one knows.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, it's so difficult to like conceptualize how bad it would be if Donald Trump got elected, right? Because like it wouldn't just be, oh, Donald Trump gets pardoned, because Trump is going to pardon himself. He's such a narcissistic psychopath that he would pardon himself. He doesn't care about accountability, even though, anyway, I won't get into that.
Right.
But that's not where the problem stops. You're right. There's going to be a constitutional crisis, but he's going to destroy our most sacred agencies. Like, he is going to gut.
If they're not,
the Department of Justice.
Right, yeah.
He is going to, take out any lawyer. By the way, him and his team, the Rolling Stone reported on this a while back, are already trying to find out the names of the lawyers and the prosecutors at the Department of Justice who are investigating him, so that if he's elected, he can remove them from office and attack them, right? So he's going to gut the Department of Justice, and then he's going to go after the FBI, because the FBI were the people behind the search of Mar-a-Lago. He's already said the FBI is this, the FBI is that, and FBI Director Christopher Wray was testifying in front of Congress recently, and he was asked, what would it look like if the FBI were defunded or gutted? And he said, more crime, more murder, more terrorist
horrible
activity, more domestic terrorist activity, less safe communities. Like, he went down the list of how bad things would get in America if we don't have the FBI, because the FBI does such crucial work that it's not really talked about all that often, because I don't really think anybody's talking about the FBI on a daily basis.
Yeah. Right.
But so not only will be experiencing a constitutional crisis, but we'll be weakened as a nation alone. Not only democracy, but our fucking ability to fight crime and terrorism. And God, I mean, it would just be terrible.
Right. No, exactly. And that's my like biggest gripe with Trump. And I think like not enough people talk about it. And I say this all the time, is like that, like one of the most harmful things this guy did, and continues to do, and will do, is just absolutely destroy any credibility that these 3-letter agencies have. And if he gets in office, he'll gut them. You're right, he'll gut them. And that is so incredibly dangerous to our democracy. I talked about this in a TikTok. I said, people just, I feel like it's not conceptualized enough about how, what type of cycle it could be. And there's so many possibilities. Like, for example, like, Trump is being investigated, all these crimes, etc., and they keep pushing this narrative that the Biden DOJ is being weaponized and all these things. Well, imagine someone like Ron DeSantis, who, a lot of voters see as more, I think some Florida voters have called him, like, likened him to, like, dictator-like. Like, he's obviously not a dictator, but he's more of that, like, right-wing, he wants a lot of control, etc. Ron DeSantis is watching this, saying, if the DOJ has been discredited by at least 30% of Americans, it doesn't matter who gets indicted, whatever, there's 30 to 40% of Americans who, because of this narrative, are like, they don't think the DOJ or the FBI or any of these people hold any credibility. So Ron DeSantis may be thinking, well, if I get in office, I'm less likely to be subpoenaed. I'm less likely to face any, I'm less likely to face criminal repercussions for things I do because the DOJ is simply holds no credibility anymore. And so the DOJ might decide not to indict, or, you know, the possibilities here are endless. And that's just one example of one 3-letter agency. It's bad.
Yeah, and I think like that is also something, and we talk a lot about Democratic messaging. And I'm not sure, maybe this message doesn't resonate as well as other things, but I really think that we do have to be talking about the Department of Justice and what could happen to it if a Republican gets into office. Like, under President Biden, right, the Department of Justice does its job, right? It doesn't, it's indicting where there's evidence of a crime. It's not targeting political figures.
And and before Trump, it really wasn't politicized, and that's the problem.
No,
Trump. No. That's one of my like biggest. That is, if you want to know something about me, like some issues I really care about, that I like. One of the ones I'm most passionate about, that I just think like, even though, you know, people watching may see it on MSNBC or whatever, like I don't think enough independent voters like see this. Like, one of the most damaging things he did was start to politicize all these 3-letter agencies, and just, I'm telling you, just destroy their credibility. It's I don't know how we fix it. It's going to take a lot of time to fix, but it's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, like, and the Department of Justice under Donald Trump was already not great, right? It was already not great, and there were actually like, and I don't want to discredit the Department of Justice under Trump, because there were actually a lot of decent people in the DOJ from previous presidents, and even some people that Donald Trump put in there who were kind of like, I'm not going to stand for your bullshit, right? So, which is impressive. But think about like a DOJ, but with Trump loyalists, with people who just do whatever Donald Trump wants. He will. I mean, that it's just so dangerous. It's just so dangerous. And like, basically the contrast is, you know, another Biden term where we have someone like Merrick Garland, the current attorney general, someone like that, who's actually a very well-respected legal scholar among both sides. As you'll remember, Obama appointed him for the Supreme Court specifically for that reason, because both Democrats, Republicans have praised him for, you know, his objectivity on the law, and and really is very, very well versed. So you have someone who's very qualified, praised by both sides in the Biden DOJ, who does his job. He goes after Democrats, he goes after Republicans when there's crime. Or we can have Donald Trump just put in, you know, whoever he wants in the DOJ, and have them do his bidding. Right,
and direct them publicly to do what he wants. And that's what's wild. There's never been a president, you know, like Biden is asked about some of these DOJ investigations, and Biden's response, or his press secretary's response, is always, we don't comment, like, we'll let the DOJ do their job. We have no comment. We have no comment. We have no comment. What do you think about Hunter Biden being indicted? No comment. We'll let the DOJ do their job. But, you know, if it's Trump's DOJ or Trump's in office, he's publicly like pressuring the DOJ to like, quote, do the right thing. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, dude, exactly. Think about how many times during Donald Trump's presidency he commented on ongoing investigations or ongoing cases in the DOJ. And then think about everything, and I don't mean to be like this, but go back to 2016 with the Russia investigation, where Donald Trump was pressuring then FBI Director Comey to do the right thing, literally saying, do the right thing.
What is that? Right.
Do the right thing.
And they're just saying that publicly, privately, whatever is, I feel like we could do a better job on like a deeper dive of like the potential ramifications of that. But these agencies should never be politicized. And the second they start to be, which they already have, you go down a long line of democracy being torn.
Yeah, and I mean, so there's obviously a lot there with the 3-letter agencies, but I kind of want to go back to something you said earlier, which I actually really want to dive into, because it might be something we disagree upon, but I also just think it's a good conversation. You said something like, oh, you know, this actually strengthens the base, and it could swing people. Yeah. So I'm curious, is like, what do you think this does for 2024? I mean, if you had to make a prediction, what do these indictments do for the American people in the way they view Trump?
Oh man. Look, I think, okay, if I was a gambling man, oh my God, it's so hard. It's hard. If I really had to put a guess right now, I'm kind of, and it's going to be surprising because I don't think a lot of people hold this view, I'm kind of leaning toward the idea that I don't think he'll run in 2024. I think
interesting.
I really like, and I'm not like, don't quote me on that. That's like a very 50-50 opinion. But I think there will be a point where we'll wake up on a Monday morning and just a bombshell will be like, and it's so hard to say because he's so narcissistic. He'll never be like, I'm not running. I'm admitting guilt. But I'm almost leaning toward the guy that gets away with everything. The guy that literally no controversy can break him. No controversy can break him. Nothing can break this guy. I'm almost leaning toward there's a point where there's too many like there's just it's too much of a pileup. Well, I mean, I don't know. But regardless of that, what do I think the actual American people think? I just think the sentiment in America, and I think it's harder for us to comment on this, and you can tell me what you think because we're young. But I think the sentiment in America, there's a strong sentiment, regardless of Trump or not, that the government sucks. The government sucks. We shouldn't believe anything they say. They don't help me at all. There's a very strong resentment of, the government doesn't do the right thing for the people. And that has been growing for the last 20 or 30 years. And so I think it just becomes very hard for people. And I understand. But I really I've been talking to, and I know this doesn't mean anything, like me personally talking to people, but I asked friends, family of friends, their opinions on this. And it's surprising to me how many people ring the same type of thing where it's like, there's just not much care for the Trump indictment because they just don't think the government coming after this guy just holds much validity. And in certain ways, I think there's just people who, and this is a problem with our federal government because it's true. The government as a whole, I know I'm using this term very broadly, but the government as a whole, for a lot of people, hasn't, helped people in the ways that it could. A lot of people have been screwed over by all sorts of things, disability payments, healthcare, all these different things. Again, I'm using the term very broadly, but I think there's just enough of that sentiment of I've been fucked over because the government that's supposed to be taking care of me doesn't take care of me, that they are willing to just look past and be like, it doesn't really matter. The Trump indictments don't matter.
Interesting.
That's kind of the sentiment I feel, but that also doesn't mean much. I mean, what do you think?
You know what? You said a lot of interesting things there. So I somewhat disagree with you a little bit. I think that Donald Trump is going to run. And I think that he's probably going to get the nomination. But I think if there's going to be a time he drops out, I think it's going to be after he gets the nomination.
Really?
So I think the Republican Party, if I were a betting man, if I say, if we had to pick what time we think that Donald Trump is going to drop out because of legal issues, I think it's going to be probably next summer when they're having the convention and Trump is already the nominee and the Republican Party is going to be in chaos because they're like, fuck, we have the majority of the party who likes Trump and now he's dropped out. And they have to pick a new candidate at the convention possibly or something happens.
So why would it be next summer?
Because that's when a lot of the trials are supposed to happen. Right. We have the
but then if you're the GOP, no, that makes sense. I agree. But if you're the GOP and you see, I mean, that would almost, if it was next summer and it's during the convention and he's the nominee, you're handing Biden a win in a lot of ways. Your party would just look incapable of governing and you just hand Biden a win, especially amongst moderates. Why would you not? I almost don't understand why there's not people high up right now in that party saying we just need to pull the plug sooner rather than later. Watching all this, especially this coming week, again, you could be watching this and Fani Willis could have indicted today. You're watching all this and you're seeing the evidence and you're not in the MAGA crowd. You're just, high up pulling some strings in this party. I just surprised that you're not we need to pull this plug now to give us a shot.
Oh, I agree. I mean, for the record, I don't think that Donald Trump's going to drop out. I think he's going to become the nominee and he's going to be on the ballot come November 2024. But if I had to pick a time, I think it's going to be then. But I think the higher ups of the Republican Party are watching the situation very closely. They're calculating because I think you're right. I think a lot of them, I can't imagine them thinking otherwise. A lot of them probably think that they're going to lose. It's a lose-lose situation no matter what. If Trump is the presumptive nominee, but the DOJ comes with a plea deal. They're like, don't run, drop out, retire, don't talk about politics anymore. Just go live in Mar-a-Lago.
Go away. Please go away. Please
just
go
away.
Far, far away.
And you'll be on probation for like 6 years, whatever.
Right.
Or we can take you to trial, and the DOJ has like a 99% conviction rate.
And they'll smoke him. Right.
So they'll smoke him, and then he'll actually go to jail. So I think if Donald Trump is presented with that thing, he will go with the narcissistic route and screw over his party and say, I'm taking the deal, leaving the Republicans in the dust. So I think they're thinking about that, but they're also thinking, they're also thinking about the possibility of. Anyway,
and I think it could be a combination too, because look, if the Republican Party holds my viewpoint, which is that this is like in a lot of ways strengthening his base, especially amongst moderates, possibly, then maybe they're saying he needs to be the nominee after these indictments, because they're like, this gives him the swing he needs, this gives him the votes he needs, run him. But dude, it's just so fucking scary to think, like, it actually terrifies me in a way that I can't explain, to think that this guy could be on trial and be I mean, what does America look like if this guy gets inaugurated and all this is happening? All right, sorry, some technical difficulties. I'm back. Jeez, oh my god. But what does America look like if this guy is on trial? I mean, it's disastrous, and I can't imagine that. And again, this is why I say I just don't know how or if I'm not convinced he's going to run, is because, I mean, this is dangerous. This is so dangerous. And I think the DOJ will push and say, you know what, to not be staring down the barrel of 300 years in federal prison and being, plead guilty and go away. But I don't know if that's constitutional, so I don't know.
I don't know either. I think that I think like probably President Biden and others are probably sitting there, and they're obviously, Donald Trump should be held accountable, but they're sitting there thinking, okay, aside from that, what happens if Trump's convicted? Like, what happens? Yeah, Trump, okay, great. He goes to jail. He gets a sentence. He goes to jail for X amount of years. But then what happens to his base? What does his base do?
Well,
what do they attack? I mean, what happens there?
Right, that's what's even more dangerous is like, I almost wish I could think of a situation where this ends well. Because like it's almost like you're picking a couple situations that you're picking the less shitty one in all these situations. Because I think as we've talked about, this like right wing domestic, or this like our biggest domestic threat is a lot of this like very right wing extremism, and we've really seen it gear up with these Trump indictments. So when Trump's spewing this, they're indicting me because they want to come after you and all this fucking bullshit. If he's actually convicted, what's his base gonna do? I mean, is this like full riot now? Are we like gonna, I don't know.
I mean, and for the record, I mean, if I had to, and this might be, I don't know what this could turn out to be, but if I had to pick a scenario in which I would want this to go, I want Donald Trump to be convicted and go to jail.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's only if the evidence is actually there. Right, innocent to proven guilty. We're all about that crap, right? Yeah.
Right.
But if the evidence is sufficient and a jury of his peers find him guilty, I don't think they should hold back. I really don't think we should be. I'm so against the idea of having like an elite in America, whether it be presidents, elected officials, whoever, who don't get the same consequences as everybody else.
Yeah.
I really hate that idea. Like Donald Trump, I don't care if he was in the Oval Office. I don't. I think that if he committed these crimes, and these sentences, some of them hold up to 20 years for individual charges. He could go to 20 years, up to 20 years. He should get that. You don't get to like break the law and then be like, oh, well, I was president, so I'm okay.
Exactly.
No. So I don't know. I know there's a lot of calculations going on, and I'm sure behind the scenes, everywhere, whether it be the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, everybody's thinking about how this will go. But I really do think that we can't be weak. We have to be strong. We have to stick to the fundamental ideals of America, that nobody's above the law.
And hypothetically, the fundamental ideals of America will get us through a very unknown time, in a very scary time, if you just stick to the fundamentals and you say this is we're going to hold you accountable no matter what. This is what we're about. We're not scared of you. We're not scared of the idea that your base will riot and freak out. We're not scared of the idea that you will continue to discredit these agencies. It doesn't matter, because we will do the right thing, because we are America, because we'll indict you no matter if you were president or if you know, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and I really like, I would be very, very disappointed if, somebody cowers. Like, we cower to Donald Trump. We cannot cower to Donald Trump. And I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about a plea deal that says you can't run, because that almost feels like almost feels like he's getting off.
It does. I agree.
But it might be good for America.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. That would be really shitty. Like, I agree with you, and that it'd be shitty. But it's almost like you got to pick your poison, man. If the DOJ is willing to say, go serve your 10 years probation and go sit in Mar-a-Lago and close your goddamn mouth, maybe that's the right thing. But again, I actually am under the belief, after understanding, that that's not really constitutional. And if it's not constitutional, then they shouldn't do it. But again, we're in uncharted territory here. I don't know. I mean, like we talked about Nixon's vice president, who resigned after his fraud charges or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it was later, I guess, decided that it's unconstitutional, I guess, because you're not allowing the American public to pick this guy if they want to pick this guy, et cetera. So I don't know.
Now, you know what's, in my view, really scary?
Let's hear it.
Is that Donald Trump gets convicted, whether it be in New York. I think hopefully there will be a trial before the election. There should be. Let's just say the January 6th trial and the New York trial happens before. Let's just say he gets convicted in both these trials. He has said that he's going to run from prison. Like, he will be running for president.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to drop out.
Yeah.
What happens then, bro?
Is there any like law or statute or anything about that? Does that exist somewhere? I mean, you know these things better than I do.
You can run from president. You can run for president from prison. I think like Tiger King right now, bro, that weirdo.
Oh, yeah.
He's like running in the Libertarian Party.
That's right.
Is running for president from prison.
Fuck.
Donald Trump has said that he will not drop out, and you know why? You know why he won't drop out? Whether Republicans like this or not, what would be the smart thing and good for America is if you're sentenced to prison, you drop out of the presidential race.
Right.
No. He's going to stay in that race because he wants to free himself. And Will Hurd, the Republican presidential candidate the other day, who I disagree with, but he said something right. Donald Trump is not running for president to serve anybody. He's running to keep himself out of prison. So if he's in prison, that's his last chance.
Yes, right, exactly.
To get out.
And I'm pretty sure when he said that, was he on stage somewhere? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got booed. He got booed heavy for saying that, didn't he?
He did get booed heavy.
Yeah,
it was in Iowa.
Right.
Yeah, a bunch of Republican dinner in Iowa. He's like, and he said the truth, and that's the truth. But that's what I'm kind of nervous about. What happens if Donald Trump is sitting in prison and running for president?
Dude,
I don't know.
I almost like these discussions. Almost like I hate them because I always convinced I can find like the answer that will like just be best for America. But none of this has been good for America. This fucking guy's existence in politics. Donald Trump's existence in politics since 2015 has been one of the worst goddamn things for this country in so long.
Yeah, because think about it this way. I mean, like here are, I think, are pretty much the two scenarios we have. Either Donald Trump gets off. He gets a weak plea agreement, and it's like, don't run or something like that, ignoring the constitutionality of it. He gets a weak plea agreement, and nothing really happens to him. And then people who care about justice are pissed, and I think that does actually weaken our justice system because now it gives a free pass to presidents to do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Joe Biden take a bunch of classified documents to his house and then delete security footage and then hide them in his bathroom? Why not?
Right. You're absolutely right.
It's not going to happen. That's precedent.
Yeah.
We have a precedent system. Set it. Go ahead, Joe. Go steal classified documents. Matter of fact, go bring Obama into the White House and then look at all these documents together because you're going to be fine. You're not going to jail. There's no consequence. Go bring in Hillary Clinton. Give Hillary Clinton a batch of classified documents because you're not going to jail. So that's a terrible precedent to set. So we either weaken our justice system and Donald Trump gets off, or we then have a bunch of MAGA freaks who are
Right. Well, okay. So actually, and this might be the correct answer, is you're right. I'm kind of changing my mind a little bit now. Maybe you're right. Maybe we go hard. We don't give him a plea deal. Say he's running from prison. I think that's why it's so important that if you're listening at home, it doesn't have to be a Democrat. It doesn't have to. I would be loud. I would be vocal. I would register to vote, and I would let people know that Trump is not the choice. Now, listen, I will tell you, or I will, if I was having a conversation with you, I'd say, if you vote for someone other than the Democratic nominee, who will most likely be Joe Biden, you may be handing a vote to Trump. But I'm not here to do all that. All I'm telling you is it is very, very important in 2024 that we make the right choice, because if we don't, and we will be facing constitutional crisis like we've never seen. I mean, the situations we just outlined are really scary, but a lot of them can be avoided if Democrats turn out in 2024. And that's why it's important that, every voice matters, every vote matters, every person matters. And I tell people this all the time. Look, if you don't like Joe Biden, I'll disagree with you. I think he's been productive. I had an argument with this. I was with like 5 friends the other night, Friday night, and I, of course, till like 3 a.m. I got in this crazy argument. One of them was like, I like RFK. But at the end of the day, I said, look, I'm now under the belief that if you think it's RFK, if you think it's Biden, if you think it's whatever, every voice matters. As long as you have the facts and you feel like you're doing the right thing for this country, voice your opinion. Cast your ballot, because it all matters. And hopefully, if you feel the same that way that Harry and I do, you'll vote for Joe Biden in 2024 so we can, avoid this, because it's scary.
And I think that similar to you, what I would say to anybody who's like listening right now and considering not voting for Joe Biden, let's just say you don't like Joe Biden. You disagree with him on policy. That's fine. I'm not going to call you an idiot or anything like that. But what I ask you to consider is that at the end of the day, whether you agree with Joe Biden or not, he's a good person, right? He's a good man. He's a kind man. And, he actually cares about this country and does a lot for the rule of law. He just follows the rule of law. He tries to preserve the fundamental ideals of America and doesn't try to interfere with things just to benefit him politically. He's normal. He's just like a normal guy. He's not. Yeah, he's normal Joe, right? Donald Trump is not a normal guy. So we have a real choice in America in 2024. Do we pick like someone who's normal, who actually cares about like what America is, whether you agree with him or not, or do you pick a psychopath who doesn't care about what America is, even if you think, oh, his tax policy is great?
Right, exactly.
It's just like a clear choice.
And for all the, one more thing, for all the people listening who are maybe more moderate, or like you said, don't like Joe Biden, maybe they swing further right, but they don't, maybe they don't know who to vote for. They really don't like that Trump's being indicted and has all these things going on, but they're really not a Democrat. I get it. Joe Walsh, who I really, really respect, he ran for president as a Republican. I probably disagree with him on a lot of issues, but he tweets constantly about, actually literally what he's done is he goes around the country and he like tries to convince MAGA people, like, let's not do this. Like, this is not the Republican Party. This is so destructive. And he just tweets constantly about how horrible Donald Trump has been for this country, how horrible it is that, this guy even has a shot right now. All the same things that Harry and I are echoing. He's destroying the fundamentals of American democracy. And as he said recently, he said, look, if you don't like, I actually don't know his opinion on Joe Biden in 2024, but he said the quote, let's save democracy now and we'll reform it later. And I like that quote because, you may be more progressive than Harry and I. I think you may be further right than Harry and I, but you may share some of these opinions about Donald Trump. I think the answer is, look, let's save democracy now and we'll reform it later. And to all the progressive, because a lot of progressives say, Democrats say that in every election to save the duopoly because you're blah, 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 blah. Like a lot of more progressive people really don't like Harry and I because they're like, the Democrat and Republican Party are the same. I look at you straight in the eyes and I say you're absolutely fucking full of shit because I'm sorry. I would like to, know in history a time because people say, well, Democrats just spit the same talking points to win elections and fearmonger and say democracy needs this now. I'm sorry. I don't remember the last presidential election where we were trying to figure out if one of the guys who's on the ballot to win, like a front runner to win, could be running from jail. The constitutional crisis like you've never seen, that's never happened before. So yes, it is very important for democracy's sake that we win this election. So yeah, reform or save democracy now, reform it later.
Yeah, exactly. Well, man, aren't these, you know what? My takeaway from this conversation is, man, is this tiring.
It's tiring. Yeah. I think
these conversations are hard.
They're really hard. But hey, it's, I don't know. Fuck me.
It's necessary.
Let's do it. I know that when you and I, who knows where we're going to be on election night 2024. We'll probably be together. We'll probably be together in some aspect somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to be stressing, dude.
We will be sweating bullets, dude.
I'm staying confident because it's gonna be Joe.
Oh no, I'm confident as hell. But like, dude, it's a year and 4 months away, bro. In November, it's gonna be 365 days until election day.
That's scary.
We will be. I'm telling you, there's not a single day that Chris and I will wake up where we don't think about this.
It's bad, dude.
It's bad.
It's not good for the mental.
Right.
It's not good for the mental. All right.
It's not good for the mental, guys.
Thank you guys for checking out episode 5. This is more like a laid back, like we're just kind of conversating. Again, this is how Harry and I conversate in private. So that was kind of like again, we've been really debating a ton behind the scenes. I say debating, really like just conversating, but it's been really stressing us out behind the scenes of what do we do? How do we structure this podcast? What can make it better? And we're really we're trying our best for you guys. We're working hard. So we really, really appreciate everyone who listens and supports us. Like Harry said, 49 states and maybe 50, multiple continents. It means the world. Seriously, every single one of you mean the absolute world. So you can let us know kind of what you thought about this conversation. We didn't get too many emails from last week, so we will do emails again next week. Joe, guess what? Joe, I have not forgot about you. I'm still next week. We're changing up a bit. Trust me, guys. We've been having so many conversations behind the scenes. Joe, I'm going to talk about Ukraine and Trump. And all that good stuff. I love you, Joe. You're the best. If you're listening, you're the best. But yeah, shout out to all you guys and let us know what you think about this more conversational tone. Just kind of picking like 1 or 2 topics. And I don't know. Anyways, that's my final words. Harry, got anything?
No, thank you guys. Appreciate all of you, man. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed episode 5. We will be back next week, Monday, 1 p.m. We are on every single platform. So if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, whatever, you can find us elsewhere. Also, Harry and I are constantly spitting a lot of the things we're saying in more short form or different forms on Twitter and TikTok. So you can check us out there. The links will be in the bio if you're listening online. It's Chris.Mowry or Chris D. Mowry and Harry J. Sisson on TikTok, Twitter, and Threads. And yeah, we'll be back here Monday at 1 o'clock. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you later.